No, you're actually too kind. All I did was sit down. I didn't clap when you sat down. So. Anyway, welcome to Soul Talk Elements. In this series, we are going to teach you as much as we can about mental and emotional health and how that affects our spiritual walk. And so I hope you get a lot out of it. The thing is, there are so many people around, and you could only describe them as strangers to themselves. They have behaviours that they would want to stop, but they don't know how to. They have 60,000 thoughts. That's how many thoughts we have a day, apparently. 60,000 thoughts going through their minds, and a lot of them they don't like, but they can't seem to stop them. They've got behaviours that they're fed up with. They've got beliefs that are sabotaging everything, but a lot of our beliefs are actually subconscious, and they don't know how to look at them, examine them, and change them. And their emotions are running, right as well. And so the idea of this whole Soul Talk Elements series is that you would develop more skills and way more self-awareness. Does that sound good? Yeah. Excellent. We're on board. Well, tonight being the first night is all pretty straightforward. We're going to have a look at the importance of developing character in positive, healthy ways. But first,
it's time for a story. When I was a teenager, I used to hang out with these guys who were actually skateboarders, and I could stand on a skateboard, but you couldn't call me a skateboarder. Apparently, most skateboarders can turn corners. And the thing with skateboarding is sometimes you just have to follow the real skaters, and then we were at the top of Queen Street in Auckland, and my mates decided to skateboard down Queen Street. Now, if you've ever been there, you know that the very top of Queen Street is ridiculously steep. And so following them was a very stupid thing to do. And I didn't want to follow them. I preferred to take the bus or to walk or to go and hide under some stairs and cry for a while. But what I did instead is just took off after them, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that at the bottom of the steep bit, they were going to get down to Aotea Square, halfway down Queen Street. They were going to stand around and celebrate without me. And I just couldn't cope with that. I couldn't cope with that, so I took off after them. It took maybe a couple of seconds to be going too fast to stop. I could have jumped off, but I think I would have broken my legs, so I just kept going. At the bottom of the steep bit is a major intersection, and it's got traffic lights. And when my mates got to those traffic lights, I don't know how they did this, but they timed it somehow magically. When they got there, the lights were green, and they probably didn't even know they were going through an intersection. When I got there, things had changed a little bit. Not only were the lights, red, and therefore cars coming through the intersection in front of me, but also there were cars stopped at the lights. Are you getting this? So to even get to the killer intersection, I had to squeeze between these rows of cars, which obviously I did because I'm still standing here today. But I tell you what, it was not skill. And when I got through there, I didn't go and find my mates, and I didn't go and celebrate. I actually just went and sat by myself for a while. I was shaking like anything. I was actually in shock, I believe. And I just thought to myself, Matt, you idiot, you just about killed yourself, or someone else, because there were pedestrians around. Why? Why would you do that? Well, the answer is, of course, that back then when I was 18, I wasn't a leader, I was a follower. See, leaders, by their very definition, don't really care what the mob is doing. They don't live by other people's values. They don't live by other people's rules. They write their own, and they don't really care what everyone else is up to. They think, yep, this is my moral, this is my value, and I'll stick with it.
I could go on for quite some time about what I think a leader is. I'd be way more interested to hear what you think a leader is. So, in your tables, wherever you are, discuss this question. What do you think are the most important characteristics of a leader? You've got 5 minutes. Go for it.
I think integrity is a big thing. Something that most of us are pretty bad at. Get on well with people, good relationships. Maybe a sense of humour, that's always handy. Some really good values that they say to you.
You need to be willing to learn from mistakes. I think you need a good sense of humour. You need to laugh at those mistakes. Humility. integrity. I think you need to be a woeful person, persuasive perhaps, and maybe a moustache, but not like a Hitler moustache. Should we cut that?
Thank you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've kind of worked this out, right? You are a group of young people. You're a group, you are people, and you are young. So that term fits you pretty well. And as a group of young people, we could ask an awful lot of adults to come and talk to you, and virtually all of them would have the same message. They would have the same 2 questions for you. We could ask politicians, teachers, parents, rappers, we could ask pretty much anyone, any sporting hero, and they'd come in here, TV personalities alike, and they have this two-part sermon for you. And it would go like this. Number 1, as young people, you have got to have a dream. You've got to have a dream! And they might say it like that too. You've got to have a dream! And they might talk about their dream. I had a dream! Right? and then they would go on to say, this is part 2, this is the second question, is, you've got to have a dream. What's your dream? Number 2 is, how are you going to achieve it? You need a plan to achieve that dream. What's your plan, they'd say. That's their question. Because there's this belief out there, this very common belief that kind of goes like this. If young people have a dream and have a plan to achieve that dream, then they're going to stay motivated and they're probably going to achieve their dream. Sounds good. Only problem is, and it's a very, very big problem, there was a poet, very famous poet called Oscar Wilde. He was the most famous poet in London for many years, and he was known for saying this. He said there were only 2 tragedies in this life. Tragedy number 1 is that you fail to achieve your dreams. Number 2 is that you actually achieve them. He said the biggest tragedy there is the later one. Actually getting what you want. Actually achieving your dreams can be the worst thing that ever happens to you. I wonder if you know why. In my opinion, it's this. It's that if you spend your entire life trying to work out how to achieve your dream, you may well forget about who you're becoming in the process. Who are you becoming in the process? Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, it's this. You could become the famous architect, the famous leader, the famous whatever, photographer. You could build the business of your dreams. But when you get there, how will you enjoy your achievements if you don't like who you've become in the process? We all do it. We ask children, don't we? What do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? It's the second question we ask. What's your name? How old are you, maybe? What do you want to do when you grow up? I asked my own daughter the same question just last week. I said, honey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said a kitten. She wants to be a kitten. I should have pointed out she's only 2. She's not like 16 or anything. Very, very strange. But I said, what do you want to do? And she said, a kitten. And now don't worry, obviously I'm not going to let her. Well, there's no future in it. What are you going to be, a cat? It's about all you can do for a kitten. There's no money in that, by the way. How many do you pay your cats? See? And you don't want to be a cat too, because no one actually likes cats. That's the other problem. Right! Okay, alright, no, we'll vote on that. Who likes cats? See, no one. What are you going to do when you grow up? That's the question we ask kids, and that's the question we ask young adults. What degree are you studying? What are you going to do when you leave? We seldom ask the most important question there is, which is this. Who are you becoming? What sort of person are you trying to be? And the problem then is, of course, miles down the track, how are we going to be proud of who we are? You can achieve all sorts of things, and that's nothing wrong with that, but we need to enjoy who we're becoming in the process. Are you happier with who you are now than you were 2 years ago? You should be. You should look back over the last couple of years and say, I'm a kinder person. I'm a more generous person. I'm a better friend, a better listener. That's the idea of growing in your character. Can you honestly say that? And if things are getting worse or they're not moving ahead at all, in psychology we would call that arrested development. Arrested development is when your growth has been stunted, and it's usually in terms of your physical growth or your mental growth. But I want to apply it here to our character growth. Is your character growth being stunted? Well, I've been married now for 15 years to a beautiful woman called Belinda, and she is a highly sought after counsellor here in New Zealand and overseas as well. In fact, people call her from all around the world every week to talk to her because she's interested in rapid personal growth. So take it away, Belinda.
I think in the West we have far too big a focus on our achievements and our accomplishments. When I talk to clients about what their ideal, perfect future might look like, far too often they talk about material things like having the house on the beach or the car, the boat, the holidays, things like that. The problem is they're not focusing on the things that are actually really important, which is developing your character. As a counsellor, I spend a lot of time helping people find a good relationship. It's one of my favourite topics actually. And I spend a lot of that time trying to convince them that what they need to look for is someone with good character. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to live with. You will live with their character, their personality, their mental health. No one wants to live in a flash house, a beautiful house with someone that you don't like because they refuse to work on themselves. I think there are 3 reasons that people don't work on their character. The first group of people, they're too distracted. They're too busy partying, working really hard, trying to get the promotion, going on holidays, traveling, keeping up with the Joneses, things like that. Second group of people, they don't know that they should. They don't know that it's important. No one's ever told them. It's never occurred to them. They don't have any self-awareness, so they don't. The third group of people would be the ones that are afraid of what they're going to find if they work on their character. They are afraid of the pain that they think they're going to have to face, and so they just choose not to. I think the most important thing to know is that your character is not a life sentence. You are not stuck with it forever. If you don't like it, you can work on it and you can change. And probably the best place to start would be to say, who do I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? And how do I become that person? What do I need to do to get there? Unfortunately, it's not a quick fix. It takes time. It takes time and effort to become the kind of person you want to be. But it's absolutely worth it to become someone that you can be proud of.
So for some reason in my life, probably half my friends are some sort of counsellor or therapist or psychologist. And I don't know how I treat them. I think they all used to be my therapist, maybe that was it. But when you ask most of them what a midlife crisis is, most counsellors will tell you that a midlife crisis is someone who got into their 30s and 40s and they hated who they've become. They've spent all their time and energy on what they've achieved and on what they have bought and what they possess, but they've neglected to work on who they are. They can't say they're proud of themselves, and they know that their kids probably see that in them as well. Well, man, I love that idea that our character, Belinda said, is not a life sentence. And it does leave us with a very big question. If we can work on our character and develop our character for the good, then here's our question. Which areas of your character would you like to develop next? You've got 5 minutes to discuss in groups.
I think I would really like to be able to be more open with people, because I find that I can often be very emotionally closed. So I think being more vulnerable with people that I find trustworthy would be a very good thing to develop next. And the other thing that I would like to develop on more is being more motivated to actually find something I want to do and work towards it without having to procrastinate and and be distracted by everything else.
The area I want to work on most at the moment is to do with my friendships. I guess I realised in the last couple of years that I've had a lot of, I guess you call them accidental friendships that I've kind of carried on because they were people I went to school with or to university with, and they weren't necessarily people I chose to be friends with. And I guess I've realised now that I can actually be a bit more intentional about the people I want in my life and who do I want to have speaking into my world. I want to choose friends that have got good mental and emotional health, people that are going to actually sharpen me, and people that are open for me to speak into their world. And so yeah, I just want to really make that a focus, and I want in 12 months' time my friendships to look a lot different to how they are now, and really grow in that area of my life.
I think that when it comes to character development, I suppose the way I'd look at it as a Christian is it's about us becoming more like Christ. And so I think one of the destinations of our journey as followers of Jesus is that we are becoming more like Christ, less selfish, more other focused. These sort of fruit of the Spirit, sort of love, joy, peace, self-control, long-suffering, all that kind of stuff, And so I think that's kind of where I'd connect to. So I think character is something that we form through time, and as followers of Jesus, we allow Christ to form that. People normally, they find their identity in three places. So I am what I own, I am what I do, or I am what other people say about me. And I think that's that whole thing, is we can choose where we're going to find our identity. And I think if we put it in those three externals, we're obviously going to have an identity which is totally flawed and constantly sort of going up and down on circumstance. And so again, it's only if we find our identity in being God's beloved children. And so I think this idea of that's only as we choose to find our identity in Christ, and in some senses, lose our life and not pursue possessions and not pursue, what people think about us or what we do, and actually choose to take on our Christ-given identity as God's beloved children, that we actually find our life. And I think that's a totally profound truth that Jesus mentions. Character is primarily formed in adversity, and I think this is really problematic because we have a culture of comfort, and a culture where we say adversity or struggle is something to withdraw from, or to try to keep at a distance as best you can. But actually, I think adversity is the primary tool for character development. And so when we're in a difficult situation in life, the question should not be, what's the fastest way out of this, but what has God got to teach me in this? And I think that's what we've got. And as a generation which is comfort obsessed and pain repellent, we struggle to develop character.
A wise man once said to me, he said, Matt, that's my name, Matt, he said, your greatest asset in this life is your view of yourself, your opinion of yourself. And I remember thinking at the time, what? It makes no sense to me. But years later, not only does it make sense, but I'd like to add something to it. Our view of ourselves, our opinion of ourselves and of our character can be our greatest asset, but it can also be our worst liability. And so I think it's time we took our character seriously. Are you with me on this? Yeah. Fantastic. You can start now working on your character. You don't have to wait. You don't have to get a degree to work on being more generous or being a better friend. You don't even have money to be more generous. You just have to find ways to do it. And start now. Start tonight. Man, I hope you've enjoyed this evening. I hope you've enjoyed us looking at growing character in positive ways, that you've got something out of it. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.